Hello everyone, I am a tutor with Uplatz and today we are going to learn about the SQL training. Previous lecture we learned about the exist clause, not exist clause. We created a table which had a similar structure like some other table. We learned about the SQL case statements where we were handling more than one condition in select clause. We studied about the null functions which included if null, is null and coalesce. After that, we started with some string functions. Today, we are going to continue with the string functions, and where we had ended previously, we can continue from there. So, as we had discussed, when we concatenate, let's say I have to give Uplatz is the best. Now what was happening here is, as you can see, since I did not give any space in concat function, there was no space allocated in my final output as well. But what if I want to separate it with some function or with some symbol? So there is one new function we are going to deal with, that is concat underscore w. Now what the underscore ws. So what this does is, it will basically take the separator in the first parameter. Let's say it is hyphen for us. As you can see, concat underscore ws function has taken the first parameter as the separator in the statement. So our words were separated by hyphen. Now if I want to give some other symbol, let's say underscore, so that's what you will see in our final output. Uplatz underscore is underscore the underscore best. Let's say I have to separate it by a single space, so I can give it. If I had to use simple concat statement, it would have been very hectic for me to write, as I have to take care of spaces and I might miss out on some space. So it is really necessary that you take care of all these things. So output is the same, but the problem here is that we are depending on the user accessing the database to handle the spaces, while if I want to handle my spaces, I can directly use concat hyphen underscore ws. So let's say I want to give now, as you can see, this concat underscore ws directly takes the number of spaces or whatever argument you have passed in the double quotes as the parameter or as the separator between your words. So here I had used 3 spaces. So 3 spaces are allocated between every word that you have printed. So whatever you give here, it could be one or more than one space, and that is exactly retrieved from the first argument and is printed in my output. So here after Uplatz I have 3 spaces, after is I have 3 spaces, and so is after the. So that's how you can make use of concat hyphen underscore ws function. Next we have the field function. Now what happens with field function is that, and let me show it to you. This field function basically returns the index position of a value in a list of values. So let us try to use that function and see what the output is. Q, and then let's give some L. So as you can see, it has given me the value 2. That means it is returning me the index position of a value in a list of values. Okay, so let me try with some other example. If I take L here, so L is the 3rd position. Okay, now let me do one thing. Let some names here. Say list this will return 0. Again, what is field doing? It is taking the first argument as a parameter to search that it is present at which index in the list. So this is my list and this is the argument that I need to search for. Now let's say if I update this with cat, now my output should be 3 because my cat, the argument, is present at the third position starting from, say, I can have, if I run this, yeah. So here is my index position. So it was basically searching for cat in this list. And the indexing in field function starts from 1. So it can be, let's say, there could be n number of lists. Sorry, n number of elements in a list. Let's say some random. So now my cat has moved to the 4th position. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So field function has returned the 4th index for my value. This can be used as for search function, easy search function in your list. If you have some list in your database, you can easily pass the parameter and you can search for whatever value you have in that list. And do remember that in field function, our indexing starts from value 1, unlike array which starts from 0. So that was field function for you. Now next we have is find and set function. This will return the position of a string within a list of string. So let's say select, we have find in set. These are all basically search functions in strings. It becomes easy for us to manipulate or play with our data, because generally you might have to write big codes to execute these things. So it's better to use what is available. So as you can see, this was my string, and when I search for Q, it is present at the 2nd position. So that's what is returned in find and set. Let's say if it will return 0, because right now SQL is one string for database, for our database system. Q alone is not present, but if I change my input parameter to something like this, it will return 1, because exactly SQL was matched with the first argument, that is SQL, and hence it returned the first position, which is the index of the list. SQL. Something like this, you have S present at the first position of your set. Okay, moving to next. Also, we can try this out with null functions. Let's see how it works in case of null. It will return null. Because again, as I had told you previously, that null is a non-comparable value. It cannot be compared to anything. So when you try to compare S with a null value, it will return null. Whatever is operated with null, the output is going to be null, because null is not a value and it cannot be compared. So that was find and set for you. Now we moving on to next function, that is format function. What is happening in format function is that, let's say I have a float number which has got 4 decimals. I want to round it off to 2. So it will look something like this. Dot, let's say I have so many numbers and I want to round it off to 2. So now you can see it has converted itself into a number 256879. Everything before the decimal will remain the same, but since we have to round it up to just 2 decimal values, 657 will be considered as 66. It will be rounded up to 0.66, and that's what we get here. So for formatting your values, decimal values, or for rounding up your decimal values, you have to use the format function. Let us try if we pass 0 to this. What will happen is that it will round up the entire float value to integer. If you see 256,879.6, anything after 0 0.5 will be converted to the ceiling number. Okay, so now let me tell you what is floor and what is ceiling. So in this example, 256,8788 is the floor value. Okay, then the given number 256,879, this is the actual number. Okay, now if you have a number something like okay, wait, let's use this example. Let's say I have something like this. Okay, so now it will get rounded off to the same number 2799. That is, it will take the floor value. If this is the actual number, this is my floor value, and +1 will be my ceiling value, and anything after 0 0.5 will be considered as my ceiling value. So if I have 0.50 here instead of 0.35, I'll get 880 instead of 879. But if I have anything even 49, I'll get the floor value, that is 879. I'll get the same number. The rounding off will be towards floor and not towards the ceiling if you have anything less than 0 0.5. So that's where you can use format for rounding up your numbers. Next, we have is, let's say we have something like this. Select, insert. I have some text as uplatz.com, let's say, and then I pass some value 1 comma, I have some value 1 comma 3, and then I give SQL into it, let's say. I'm sorry, I'll not close the bracket. So as you can see, what happened here was uplatz.com was my initial text. Starting from index number 1, it has replaced the value. So what has happened here is, for U and P, it has replaced the value 1, 2, and 3. For U, P, and L, it has changed to SQL. Let me change that third value since it is same. If I write something like SQQ, you can see that the value has changed. So what is happening here is that this is my text. This is my starting index. This is my ending index. So now what I am doing here is that I am inserting this value. I want to replace basically. So what it will do is it will search for index number 1, that is U, until 3. Now both 1 and 3 are inclusive here. That means U, P, and L will be replaced with SQQ. Let's say I want to replace ATZ here. So what will happen is I have to change the index. So now I have to give 4 till 6. Now what will happen is fourth number is A, fifth number is 4 to 6. So 5 is included here. And until 6, that is until Z, it will be replaced with SQQ. As you can see, UPL, SQQ has been replaced. Now, let's try to play around with this text. Okay, we will not take, we'll try to take 2 here. Okay, yeah. Now the difference between these two, what we did here was we took the 4th number and we took the 6th number. So what it did here was, starting from 4th, that is from A, it counted 6 digits. That is ATZ dot C and O. These are 6 letters until O. This got replaced with SQQ. And then we had the final letter M. So even dot is included into this index. Now, if we, let's say, want to just we just want to replace two digits into it. If you want, instead of A and T, we want SQQ. So what we did, starting from fourth index, we replaced two digits with the digit that we are giving, with the characters that we are providing. Let's say I want to replace only one. So what will happen here is that only A letter will be replaced because we have asked for only one change. So if I run this, you can see that UPL remained as it is. A got replaced with SQQ and then TZ.com. So basically, this is your existing string. This is the starting index. This is the number of characters you want to replace. And this is the new character with which you want to replace the original text. So we have 4 parameters in this insert. This insert is different from the insert that you use while inserting into your table. Both are different. And both can understand their own functioning based on what is the requirement of the query. Here my insert function is used after select. So it comes to know that we have to give 4 parameters here. Had it been the starting statement, then you might have to insert something into a table. Here you are trying to replace an existing text from a table with a new text. So that was insert function, string function for you, which inserts a string within a string at the specified position and for a certain number of characters. So we had 4 parameters here. First one was the string, that is the existing string. Then we had the position from which we want to replace it. Then we had the number of positions that we want to change. And finally, we had the new text that we want to add. So that was insert function for you. Moving to our next function. We have the instruct function. The notation for the same is something like this. So whichever is the convenient way for you to pronounce, you can use that. What this function does is it returns the position of the first occurrence of a string in another string. Okay, so let us try to give some examples. Uplatz.com. Again, we will use that. And let's say my another string is something like this. So as you can see, the first occurrence was here. It was starting from this particular index. Now let me give some more to it. Still my answer will be 1 because the match started from the first index. Now if I take off these 2 characters, it will give me third because the match LATZ was present in this particular string and that match started from the third index. So that is why the instr function will return me the third index value here. Let us try to do this. Now, as you can see that LZ was not present at all because there are 2 letters between L and Z. So here the index that is returned is 0. That means it is not found. It was not found. If I just give a value Z here, then as you can see, this is present at the 6th index. So if I run this, I will get this answer as 6. That means the match was found at the index number 6. If I pass dot to it, then in that case, you can see that the dot was present at the 7th index of the string 1. So as you can see, it basically returns the position of the first occurrence of a string in another string. So let me do something like this. SQL, and at the end also I will add SQL. Okay. Now here it will return me 1 because what it does is it checks for the first occurrence, and the first occurrence of SQL, that SQL, is present at the first index. Even though it is present at this particular index number, but it will select the first occurrence, that is starting from left to right. So this will become my first occurrence, that is 1. Now even if I place it next to each other, then in that case, what will happen is it will return me the 11th position. Let us count if that is 11th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So here my actual mapping of SQL had started. That was the first occurrence. That is the 11th index position was my first occurrence of matching this keyword, this string in the existing string. So that was instr function for you. Now this function, it is a case insensitive search. What does that mean? If I pass this, it will still return me the correct value. It does not keep a check on whether you are using capital letters or you are using small letters. That's what is meant by case insensitivity. So even if I pass small, let's say z dot c, it will still give me the value because z dot c is present in our string. Even if it is capital, it will search for that letter. Here it is case insensitive. So that was instr function for you guys. Next, let us do one thing. We will try to, okay. So let us try to move to understand the next function. That is, since we have already talked about the case sensitivity. So we will also learn about the string functions that are available to handle those functions which are case sensitive. Okay, let's say our next function is lcase. Now what does this lcase function does is it just converts any given string to lower cases. Okay, now let's say I give something like that, like this: Uplatz is the best platform to learn. Okay, now what do I expect lcase to do is it should convert this string to lowercase, and as you can see, everything is converted into lowercase. Now why this is used? What happens sometimes is that in your databases you have certain fields. Consider country for an example. So what happens is country is a literal value, and when you are comparing literal value, the case sensitivity comes into the picture. So when you want to compare two countries, which there could be a possibility that there are two entries of that same country. One is in small letters, other one is in capital letters. And when you try to match this, you won't get a match, and that is because it is case sensitive. So in such cases, you either convert all of them to lowercase or you convert them to uppercase and then compare. Let us try to see. So here, okay, this has not happened. This is not case sensitive. So, okay, here it is not case sensitive. Otherwise, we could have shown that example to you. Okay. So your query will look something like this. When you're working on the database, actual database, which has some values, while you are comparing those values, in those cases, you might want to consider this function. So it will look something like this. lcase string 1 is equal to lcase string 2. What will happen in this case is that here string 1 will be converted to lowercase, all the string 2 values will be converted to lowercase, and then there will be a comparison just to avoid case sensitivity. Case sensitivity also it can be set to true or false based on whatever parameters you have given while setting up the database. So there is still a possibility to put up the case sensitivity. The setup hardware, there is one command for it which needs to be set to true, just in case if you want to handle case sensitivity at the root level. But I would recommend not to use that. That is because you never know that even if the data, what exactly is happening in between. If the case sensitivity is set to true for some time, so all the small values or only capital values will be inserted into your table. But if somebody else has the same right to make the changes to the database, and that person has again changed it to false. In that case, it might happen that it will again start to accept some uppercases values into that particular field. In this case, what we will happen is that because of this inconsistency of not knowing exactly what features are being set up in this database, we might lose some information. So it is always recommended to use the function and then do the comparison instead of setting it up on the database directly. So that was LKs for you. And as I told you, similar to LKs, we also have one more function which is very similar to LKs, that is lower. This lower function and LKs both work the same way. So for the above example, okay, let me change LKs to lower. This will also fetch the same result to me. So for this string function, there are two possibilities you can use. One is LKs. If you want to use LKs, you can use that. It will convert the string to lower letters. And if you want to use lower function, that will also do the same thing. It will convert a string to the lowercase. So any one of them will work. Okay. Now let me do something. Now, just as we have lower, we also have one more function to convert all small letters to uppercase. And that function is the upper function. It will work exactly opposite to a lower and LCase function. As you can see, UCase and upper both can be used for converting a string to uppercase. I had passed a lowercase string to this function. The output of the same is the uppercase function. So you can use that as well. So either there are two things you can do. You can convert everything to lowercase on both the sides of equal to and then compare, or you can convert everything to uppercase and then compare. Whichever you find suitable, you can use it based on the scenario, use case scenario. Now, we talked about the lower and uppercase. Let's say there is one more function, that is the left function. What it will do is it will extract a number of characters from a string. Now here starts the substring area where we are going to play around with our strings and characters present in that field. So let us try to demonstrate this. Uplatz.com, let's see. And then I give some value, let's say 3 maybe. I get UPL. It will fetch the first 3 characters from the left hand side of the string. Okay, if I give 6 here, it will fetch the first 6 characters starting from the left side. Okay, now let's say I just passed 1 here. The output here expected should be only 1 character starting from the left side, that is U. So when I press enter, I get just 1 letter. Now similar to left, we have one more function in SQL. Obviously, you might have guessed it by now. It is the right function. Now, I have a right function will work exactly opposite to what left has done till now. What right does is, it will select the number of characters as mentioned in the second argument from the right hand side of the string. So if I pass this, I get the value m. Let's say I want 3 values. I should get the value com. Let's say I want some 6 values. So I'll get tz. Understand that even dot, it is a special character, but it is considered as a string because it is given inside the quotation mark. So this is a literal string literal for us. It is treated as a string literal. So when you are giving 6 parameter here, the variables, the alphabets along with the special character will be passed as the output. So that was left and right function for you. That's all for today's lecture. In our next lecture, we will deal with more such string functions that are readily available to us, which we can make use of in our database systems instead of writing huge lines of code. We'll see more of it in our coming lecture. As our ritual, let me write a bye-bye message for you. Thank you from Uplatz. Thank you.